Christine, do you care about AOC wanting to run for president at all in this new clip of her? Or do you want to talk about Kash Patel's girlfriend? Both are very juicy.
I'd rather talk about, I probably have stronger opinions about AOC than Kash Patel's. I have strong opinions about Kash Patel and how he's running the FBI. But no, the AOC clip, let's see that one.
We're doing turkey distributions all day. We're starting in Castle Hill. Later we'll be in Throgs Neck. We got halal turkeys in Throgs Neck. And then we'll be in East Elmhurst, Queens with First Baptist and Rev Young. I want to talk to you all about all the contributions you've made. We have been able to provide over, 1,600 turkeys? 1,600 turkeys in the Bronx. And then all of your support and fundraising has raised an additional $20,000 above our raise goal, which we are giving 100% to local food pantries to help feed families this Thanksgiving. So taking you all with me, we're breaking down some boxes, as you can see right there. And we are loading trucks, so let's go.
Because that's actually very nice for her to do at Thanksgiving. I'm not going to like...
Okay, but I have a critique nonetheless. Sure. Yes, look, we should all donate our time and money and energy to helping people who are less fortunate, especially at Thanksgiving. Very important time to do that. I think what would be better for AOC's, let's just talk about her own constituents, whom she has not served well while being a member of Congress. Maybe they wouldn't have to go to a food pantry if her democratic socialist policies didn't have an absolute bottleneck on certain parts of New York. And I was really struck because someone sent me some of her stuff about, is she going to run? Is she going to challenge Schumer? What's her future look like? She's 36 years old, I believe. And I was thinking, okay, so who else from her sort of generation would I look to and say and compare her to? And I have recently I heard Elise Stefanik, who's challenging Kathy Hochul for the governorship of New York. I heard her speak. She's about 5 years older than AOC. She's been in Congress a little bit longer, but she was elected from New York, not a really strong Republican state, but from upstate New York. And, she won a tough race. She very quickly rose in the leadership of the Republican Party in the House. She was on in the Republican conference, the fourth highest person in the conference at one point. And she infamously, to many of us who follow higher ed, absolutely annihilated the completely craven and incompetent university presidents from the Ivy League who were dragged before Congress to explain why their Jewish students were being harassed on campus last spring. So she's just good. She's good at politics. She's hard charging. She's gotten legislation passed. She knows what she's doing. She's a real political leader, and her message is often about the service that elected officials should provide. AOC talking about giving away free turkeys that other people have donated to her constituents. She's servicing her brand herself. And I've seen her do that very well on Instagram Reels, like she did in that clip, but also throughout her career, flying around on private jets to go yell about the billionaires with Bernie Sanders. That's great for her brand. All these things she does. You know what's not great for her constituents? That she successfully stopped Amazon from putting in a factory whose jobs would have actually been great for a lot of the people who live in her district. A lot of the stuff that she's done or supported with the Green New Deal, which was just a resolution that went nowhere, which is her most well-known piece of political activity in Congress. She hasn't really done much for her own constituents. So if she wants to run for president, I say go for it. I think a lot of her shallow politics will be exposed, her lack of experience, her lack of knowledge. She relies heavily on her staff when she's in committee hearings. She also doesn't show up a lot of the times to her committee assignments. So I don't think she's actually been a good public servant. And people in her district know this. And the American people, I think, have gotten over her little Instagram ingenue thing by this point. And so she'll actually have to put up or shut up. When I compare her to someone like Elise Stefanik, politics aside, just how they deal with the public and how they deal with their sense of service, she doesn't compare. She's not a grown-up in that sense.
Well, I wanted to ask you.
That was pretty harsh, but yeah, I mean, nice about the turkeys.
No, I agree with every single thing you said. And I'm actually, if you juxtapose it with, and again, I think Zohran Mamdani is an existential threat to New York City, and the state of New York. I cannot think less of his politics. Like he encompasses everything I don't believe in. Just put that out there. That being said, he's a very smart politician and he's very charming. And he seems to understand through his meeting with Trump last week that you can't just govern through Twitter and Instagram, which is, for whatever reason, is a lesson AOC has not learned. And I actually thought, and the reason I compare them is they're both the most prominent socialists in America, and they're both from New York. I actually think that, like, he looks a lot more, I don't know, not statesmanly, that's not really the right term, but like he just looks a lot more official than she does.
It's more
Because
serious.
more serious, yes, because she's always screaming on social media and like in her pajamas in her apartment, whatever. And his curation on social media is just a lot more elevated in a lot of different ways. And even when he's like on the street and whatever, he still is like, I don't know, he looks like a politician to me. He doesn't look like, sometimes she just looks like she's like in a
Well,
college student. Like I remember one time she was doing an
he's usually in a
Instagram
suit.
live when
She's
she was
walking
making
around in a
macaroni.
beanie.
Yeah, she was like making easy mac while she was doing it. And I was like, I don't fucking care. Like, there should be some decorum. And I was wondering if this is in any way impacting her as well, because people keep saying, including, by the way, Laura Ingraham, she tweeted, AOC is positioning herself to run for president in 2028. Republicans, as you fight amongst yourselves, she's building the most powerful political operation we've seen since Obama. I don't disagree that she's probably going to run for president. It's just like, I'd love to see how this plays in Iowa and New Hampshire. And sure as hell love to see how it plays in South Carolina with Clyburn being the kingmaker there. I just think people are respectfully insulated that think this is going to be easy for her. What do you think of the comparison to Mamdani, Christine?
The curation point is spot on, because one thing he had to overcome the fact that he also had done very little professionally before he ran for mayor. And what you did know of him on social media was like a failed rap career that was downright embarrassing. I mean, that's the clips I saw. I was sort of like, oh my goodness. Oh, I almost felt pity for him. And but I would say that his challenge is that he has more of the wolf in sheep's clothing problem. So he put on the suit, as Miranda said. He was styled very well for his campaign run. But now he has to govern. And so how he will do that, and we've already seen a little preview from what happened outside a synagogue in New York, where protesters, were preventing people from going into the synagogue to worship. That is a federal crime, and it is currently being looked into by Harmy Dillon, thank goodness. But his response was to call it an international international crime, that people in Israel were meeting or people in the synagogue were meeting there to learn how they might actually move to Israel. And he was not able to just say, houses of worship are sacred spaces and the entrance to them should never be blocked by any protest, or like you should not prevent someone from going into a house of worship. That's all he had to say, but he couldn't help himself. He had to get that in there. He had to attack Israel. He had to attack the Jews. And I think in a sense, he's going to really struggle with that, because that is who he is. That's who he is. She's more malleable. Remember, she was created by people who recruited her. She was nominated. It was almost like a reality show as who could be a good, kind of young upstart. Netflix did a whole documentary about her and some other women who ran
about that,
bringing down the house. And she was the only one who won, but she was the least serious of the women candidates who ran. It's an interesting documentary to go back and revisit now. But she was a creation. She was a PR creation, a very successful one. And she stayed at that level. She has not moved or grown in office at all. He will be forced to move and grow in office because he actually has to govern a really polyglot, huge city. So his trip to go visit Trump was, I think, a sign that he understands that. I don't think he will be a very good mayor for the people of New York City, but at least he seems to, as Miranda said, like he's acting a little bit more like an adult than she ever has.